Your phone already chose the route. Your feed already chose what you'll see. Your bank already decided whether you qualify. You still feel like you're deciding, but increasingly you're choosing between options selected before you arrived. Important decisions are starting to happen without needing you at all. Navigation systems choose faster routes. Recommendation engines predict preferences. Risk models approve or reject outcomes instantly. When systems decide before humans act, choice quietly stops being necessary. That's the shift, not when AI became smarter. When participation stopped being required. For most of history, life depended on decisions. You chose where to live, who to trust, what risks to take. Even small choices mattered. You felt the weight of decisions in ordinary moments. Taking a job, ending a relationship, moving somewhere new. Life changed because you chose, not because something quietly calculated the safest path for you. Wrong decisions had consequences. Good decisions created opportunity. Choice carried weight because outcomes depended on it. Responsibility followed naturally. If something succeeded, you chose well. If something failed, you learned. Human identity formed around this process. We admired judgment. Leadership meant deciding under uncertainty. Parents decided, doctors decided, leaders decided. Having a say wasn't optional. Growing up meant learning how to decide without certainty. Nobody knew the outcome in advance. You acted anyway. That uncertainty wasn't a flaw. It was proof that your life still depended on you. It defined adulthood itself. You felt present in your own life because events responded to your decisions. Effort mattered because outcomes weren't predetermined. When outcomes depended on human judgment, people defined themselves by the choices they made. Now decisions increasingly begin elsewhere. Streaming platforms choose what you watch next. Shopping systems predict purchases before you search. Navigation reroutes automatically. Hiring filters remove candidates before interviews exist. Today, large employers already use automated screening systems that filter thousands of applications before any recruiter reads a name, meaning many candidates are rejected without a human ever making a decision. Nothing feels forced. You rarely notice the moment choice disappears. A suggestion appears. You accept it. The result works well enough that questioning the recommendation feels unnecessary. Convenience replaces effort. Decision fatigue disappears. You don't compare 10 options anymore. You accept the recommended one, and most of the time, it works. Life becomes smoother. Fewer comparisons, fewer doubts, less second-guessing. Decisions resolve themselves before hesitation even begins. And relief quietly replaces participation. Faster, less mentally exhausting. Which is why resistance rarely appears, because optimization feels like relief. When prediction removes effort, humans begin surrendering decisions willingly. Gradually, choosing becomes supervision. You approve, confirm, accept, but rarely originate. The real change arrives quietly. You realize nothing breaks if you stop deciding. Autoplay continues. Algorithms schedule reminders. Systems optimize investments automatically. Cars begin steering themselves. Medical systems recommend treatment paths. In some hospitals, clinical decision support systems now recommend treatments based on population outcomes, guiding doctors towards statistically safer options before personal judgment even enters the conversation. You can still decide. You could turn autoplay off. Ignore recommendations. Choose differently. But doing so begins to feel inefficient, like rejecting guidance already proven more reliable than guesswork. But outcomes no longer depend on it. That difference matters, because the habit of deciding weakens when it isn't needed. People stop asking, "What should I do?" They ask, "What's recommended?" You notice decisions happening faster than thought. Suggestions appear before questions fully form. The moment where you once stopped to think quietly disappears. When participation becomes optional, people slowly stop needing to decide for themselves. Responsibility shifts too. If a system chose who is accountable, you followed guidance, the outcome feels external, success feels assisted, failure feels statistical. Choice becomes background noise. Nothing dramatic collapses. Freedom still exists. You can override systems. You can decide differently. But increasingly, you don't need to. Daily life flows through optimization. Navigation apps already reroute millions of drivers automatically each day, quietly coordinating traffic flow at a scale no individual could manage. Most people follow directions without ever reconsidering the choice. Fewer wrong turns, fewer uncertainties, fewer difficult decisions. Comfort increases. Life feels easier to manage. Fewer regrets, fewer visible mistakes. But ease carries a hidden trade. Fewer moments where outcomes clearly belong to you. Stress decreases, yet something subtle changes. Meaning used to come from choosing when you weren't sure what would happen. Risk created ownership. Ownership created identity. Without meaningful decisions, life becomes smoother, but less authored. When systems carry responsibility for outcomes, human will become symbolic rather than necessary. You still live your life, but fewer moments genuinely depend on you. You may still feel free. Nothing prevents choice, yet freedom changes meaning when events unfold successfully, whether you decide or not. And when nothing depends on your decision, responsibility fades with it. Not taken away, simply unused. If nothing important requires your choice, what does freedom mean? If this felt unsettling, that's because choice has always been part of how humans understand themselves. AI doesn't need to remove freedom. It only needs to make deciding unnecessary. If this made you reflect on how often systems now choose for you, tap the like button. It helps more people recognize the shift already happening. Subscribe to become part of the Unlocked, where we explore what still belongs to humanity as intelligence changes around us. And if someone you know believes technology only changes efficiency, share this with them. Because the deepest change isn't automation. It's what happens when nothing depends on us anymore. Because the future isn't coming. It's already here.